Okay, you guys ready?
Turn off the other light. Right. These are the 1940s, and you got Jordan Gromley, Andy Hodak, Connor Clemenhagen, Trey Rundles, Billy Urich, and Andrew Sigley.
Oh.
Very nice. So the first thing we started with was Neutrality Acts, right? So it's all kind of based on the fact that America doesn't want to get involved in World War II, and I mean, we do everything to avoid it, and FDR does everything to avoid it. We were just coming out of the Great Depression. The Neutrality Acts were the first thing kind of set up, and that was where we had a general embargo on most places. And then we had cash and carry, which was inconsistent.
Oh, thank God. Oh. How they're all doing at the US Arizona.
Yep, there's the baby. Richard Foster. Good time.
Louder! As loud as it can be.
On the Windows player, sir.
Windows player, yes. I did. Okay.
Yep, there's Arizona.
Here we go. I'm going to shoot him down. Good job. Another time. Wow, Pearl Harbor set. Okay. All right.
I did not expect that.
Wow. Andrew Ziegler, you ready to go? Oh, we gotta get records out of the way.
Gromley. Did FDR's thing.
Oh.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The facts of yesterday and today speak for themselves. With confidence in our armed forces, with the unbounding determination of our people, we will gain the inevitable triumph, so help us God. I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan On Sunday, December 7th, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
All right.
Okay, the U.S. entrance in World War II began with neutrality. There's a strong sense that in 1930s America, they didn't want to enter a war after being a Great Depression and having to fight a bloody European war in World War I. We slowly began to get out of neutrality because with cash and carry, where we would only accept cash for payments, and we would offer weapons to our allies in Europe and sometimes Soviet Union. And slowly we weaned off of that, and we went to Lend-Lease, where we would actually begin lending them money and funds to fight Germany, so that we could maintain our allies through them. And during this time, FDR signed the Selective Service Act, which was the first peacetime draft in America. That was the furthest step towards war. And just before Pearl Harbor, we began arming merchant ships to go fight German vessels across the Atlantic. And so in fact, it was a limited war. It was just not open there. And it took till Pearl Harbor for it to spark total use of World War II. Okay, Pearl Harbor arose from the nexus between the two nations of Japan and the United States. Japan wanted a Pacific empire, and the U.S. wanted an open door to China and the status quo in Southeast Asia to maintain the peace and trade interests. Japan viewed the Argo as an option. The U.S. used economic coercion to force Japan to halt their aggression, such as embargoing all their fuel, all their oil, and halting all trade with them. This pushed Japan towards Pearl Harbor. Some of the reasons for Pearl Harbor: the U.S. didn't expect such an attack so far away from the shore as they expected, and move farther south, such as into the Philippines. Japanese were depending on a knockout effect to discourage Americans from continuing the war and the war in the Pacific with them, but however had the opposite effect and increased our efforts and production. Okay, so after Pearl Harbor, you saw we Churchill and FDR agreed that Europe needed to speed taken out first. But however, the Soviets went for war in Europe. Churchill, to protect British oil reserves in Egypt, convinces FDR to invade North Africa first and come up through the soft underbelly of Germany. The North African campaign began with early Axis victories against the British under Ron. Early Axis victories in North Africa, the Nazis were led by General Rommel, and British Operation Crusader defeated the Axis at around Egypt and pushed them west towards Tunisia. And Operation Torch was the American-British campaign coming in from the west, pushing from the west towards the beaches, so it formed a vice. It trapped Rommel in Tunisia and forced him to surrender. Thousands of troops were captured, even though Hitler had ordered them to fight to the death. Okay, so after North African campaign, they created a springboard for the invasion of Italy. And 2 months after the invasion of North Africa and that victory there, he had taken Sicily and landed in southern Italy. As we're moving up the Italian peninsula, the Italians kill Mussolini and surrender to the Allies. Right? And then after that, Nazi troops pour in from Germany into northern Italy and begin fighting. The mountainous terrain in Italy makes the fighting very difficult, and it takes them 8 months to 150 miles to Rome. And they continue to fight in northern Italy until the war ends.
All right. So back home, there was sports in the 1940s, and here are the major contributors to the popular figures in sports. Jackie Robinson broke the sports color barrier in 1947. He joined the Brooklyn Dodgers, and that year he won Rookie of the Year. And in 1949, he won the MVP award. And this desegregated baseball and made way for more sports, for blacks getting in and competing. And his jersey number 42 was retired by all of baseball on April 15, 1997. And this is just a side note, but he also stole home 19 times. Joe DiMaggio, 13 seasons with New York, and he made All-Star team every single one of those. He was nicknamed Joltin' Joe and the Union Clipper, won 9 World Series and 3 MVPs. He enlisted in the Air Force in the seasons of 1943 and 1945, and he is mostly known for his 56-game hitting streak, which probably won't ever be broken. This is boxer Sugar Ray Robinson. He was born Walker Smith Jr. He became a pro in 1940 when he was just 19 years old, and by 1951 he held an impressive 128 1-2 record with 84 knockouts, and he held the welterweight belt from 1946 to 1950. Joe Louis, Brown Bomber, was the most well-known boxer of this era, and he was heavyweight champion from 1937 to 1949, and a span that lasted 140 months. And his career finished with 66 wins and three losses and 1 draw. The effect of World War II on sports, that many of the prominent figures like Joe DiMaggio, Stan Musial, and Ted Williams, and also boxers like Joe Louis and Billy Conn, they left the sport to serve the country, and it kind of, the sports became less popular from the fans because the important figures weren't there anymore. Other notable sports events: All-American Girls Professional Baseball League was formed in 1943 and went through 1954. And there's a picture of the Minneapolis Millerettes. And another event was the Basketball Association of America, formed in 1946 and joined the National Basketball League in 1949 to become what is now known as the NBA. In football, penalty flag first became official, and Paul Brown created detailed playbooks which started this strategy that is now used in state games. And in college football, Notre Dame won 4 titles, and surprisingly, the Gophers won 2. Japanese internment, this is switching gears a little bit, but Japanese internment was set in place in February 1942 in Executive Order 9066, and authorized removal of people that were a threat to military areas, and about 37,000 Japanese immigrants and 75,000 native-born Japanese Americans were put on relocation centers. And this started due to the fear of Japanese Americans spying or siding with Japan in the war. And African Americans in World War II worked on the Double V campaign, which was victory over war in Europe and the Pacific, and the war of discrimination at home. Executive Order 8802 was signed by FDR in 1941 and prohibited federal agencies from discriminating in war-related work. So that was a big step for the African Americans. And the Congress of Racial Equality, or CORE, was founded in 1942 and fought to desegregate public places in the North. Over 1 million African Americans served in the war, although mostly non-combat roles, and these are the Tuskegee Airmen that fought. Women on the home front. During World War II, 6 million women entered the workforce as waves, wax, and MOSP and non-combat roles. Women were urged into the war because of Rosie the Riveter, and she was the propaganda that we can do it. We can do it. And in 1940, only about a quarter of workers were women, but then in 1945, that rose to well over a third of the people. And although they gained some roles at home, they still only received about 65% from the money that men would for doing the same job. I guess the pictures didn't work. Okay. Wartime production. After joining World War II, America was in need of getting fit for battle, and they passed War Powers Act, giving the president total control of the war for America, and Selective Service Act, as Sigmund said. And War Production Board distributed materials and limited production of civilian goods. The Office of Price Administration rationed the goods and price controls to check inflation. U.S. automakers produced planes and tanks, which were a huge part in this war because, or as opposed to World War I, where they only fought in trenches, this one was fought using more technology and more planes and just a more overall change in the war. And America became the largest producer of weaponry in the war, and women were inspired to work due to Rosie the Riveter. And the wartime production brought the country out of the Depression, and it gave many people, or lots of people, many new jobs.
Talk a little bit about like technological advances that came about as part of World War II. One of the major advances came in the area of tanks. Tanks became much more effective and real powerful in World War II as in comparison to World War I, where there were just major giant bunkers that drove around and did a bunch. Now they became much more effective at determining battlefield strategy. A second advancement came with airplanes. Airplanes were not just tools for reconnaissance. During this war, they were effective at bombing and fighting other fighters and attacking troops on the ground. I would say one of the biggest examples of this was the National Line in France, where they built this giant fortification line, machine guns, bunkers, all across the border of France and Germany. And when Germany came to invade France, they just blew over it. France didn't really help much. And another advancement came in the area of small arms and firearms that soldiers would carry. Became much more efficient at producing them, and they became much more reliable. And unfortunate cause of this, they were much more deadly, and this would help account for the vast number of deaths that occurred in World War II.
Okay. So, the war has just started, and the Selective Service Act caused every boy in this room to sign up for duty. So we're picking, I guess we're drafting students from this class to help fight in our battlefield here. So,
I did not get drafted.
oh, you should sign up. You're on the class. All right.
Also, I'm heading to Canada.
Canada.
Conscientious.
Okay.
I feel conscientious.
All right.
Come on, drafted.
Cody Barron, you're drafted. Yeah, you're drafted. Cody Barron.
It says Cody there.
Infantry, first division.
Decided a while ago, you know.
Easy company.
Easy company.
You're a Marine. Okay. All right. Then we have Colton. Sign up. Andrew Madigan. And Aaron Hunter.
I'm in Canada.
No, he's drafted.
What's up, babe?
Can I get Ross to go for me?
No, you can't. You're drafted.
I'll volunteer. Okay, all right, then we'll
Andy,
go.
you're gonna break
We're not doing Mulan, but we're doing
We'll go with Davis then.
My too old.
No, you're within the limits.
Yeah.
Under 35.
I'm at 65.
Under 35?
Yep. So, we need all of our draftees to come up here, please. I guess you want to be. Come on, Hunter.
If you lose points, if you make me participate in standing faster. It was Brando.
I feel pretty lucky. You and yours kills me and mine.
Alright, you got it? Yeah, I got this.
Alright.
I got this. Coming out.
Once I get up there.
You need all the ammo you can take. It's gonna be a bloody day. I'll sit back. I see how this is gonna happen. I'm gonna be right up front. I'll be slaughtered. We have one way. Stand up to a guy from Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, we reminded me.
Okay. Reinforce the ladder from the Empire of the
Alright.
Nice.
Let's do this. Alright,
Nice sniper. Yeah, you guys get up front. You guys are good. Yeah, you are. Let's go. Alright, quick, drop the light.
Use Andy as a sheet.
So it's done?
Ready?
Lies. No. Oh, please. Battle's called up. Wait, it is gonna work.
Play at the bottom, get back your car.
I don't know why.
Gunner, why didn't you swim across the water?
This one's coming on your forehead.
Did you hear to represent what was created?
Mountain Dew came out in, was it 1948? We'll pass it out later though.
We have one bullet.
This technology in the 1940s is really putting us in a
I'm pretty deadly with that shot.
Is this all part of the show here?
Causing dramatic effect.
There's a lot of technical difficulties.
You gotta think about what you're gonna do. 'Cause you're storming Normandy. From Omaha Beach to the Green Sector.
Somebody say I got a bad feeling about this song.
I got a bad feeling about this story.
Shoot it. I don't know why you got out of the boat.
If you've never seen this is graphic.
No, I cut all the back.
Cut all the back parts out. You did the good part. You gotta look these guys. There's like a 35%
Move back and clear those murder holes.
Yes, sir.
5 men to shoot the opportunity. 1 man to waste the ammo.
Stand out of your weapon. Keep those actions clear. I'll see you on the beach. Counterpoint and start David.
Tom Hanks isn't quite as quick. He takes a little while.
Why did I get
With the two spikes in between. Down there and Hunter. Win there and Hunter. 6-second operation, 0 dead.
Really cute.
God was historically
We're getting shot at.
Why didn't you cut out all the Jurassic Park? How many times did you watch that guy get killed?
My brother's really good beatboxer.
Yeah, I know, but we need to like
We can pretend we're beatboxing and show my brother beatbox.
You better be really good though, because you gotta be better than me.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I wouldn't be happy with that.
Wait, then what were you asking? Wait, what?
I don't think so.
I don't think we're doing the dance video today, and
We're watching this.
I thought you said you took it out.
Some things are necessary.
They obviously know what you are. Connor, they loosely based that off dodgeball games I played in second grade.
They did?
Yeah.
That was Matt Smith.
That's this dodgeball game. All right.
Oh yeah, it works.
It
always
There's a technical difficulty before, but
I have no
we're in
idea
business.
why. Oh, we actually did it in the right order too. Yay.
Boom. All right. So as you just witnessed, both in film and directly in front of you, D-Day took place on June 6, 1944. All right. Now, Operation Overlord was the initial, or was the taking over of the Normandy coast of northern France, and they stormed a 50-mile-long section of that Normandy beach. And Operation Neptune was its exact landing and taking of the beachhead. Operation Overlord was staging Normandy as the base camp to which they were going to expand then on. Operation Overlord took about maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months almost to complete, and that's where the staging ground for them to liberate France and everything that was occupied by German forces. The scene that you just watched was on Omaha Beach of the Dog Green sector, and Omaha Beach was the most heavily reinforced. It had, was it 2 divisions behind it, so it was the most heavily reinforced. That's where most casualties took place. There are 5 sections, 2 British, 1 Canadian, and 2 American sections. We had Omaha, Utah Beach, and British and Canadians had the other 3. Right. So the Western Front, this is where from Normandy on, everything that happened in France and Belgium and all those places, this is the Western Front of the war. The first goal was to liberate Vichy France, which was the puppet government that the Germans had installed in France in order to suppress any rebellions or any free French armies from taking out. Dwight D. Eisenhower was the Supreme Allied Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force. He was the head honcho of the Western Front, most notably during the Battle of the Bulge campaigns or the Operation Market Garden, which was the British campaign. This took about a year to complete, as May 8th was victory in Europe Day. Strangely enough, victory in Europe Day for Russians was another on May 8th or May 9th because of time differences that they celebrate May 9th, everybody else celebrates May 8th. But that's when American and British forces took the unconditional surrender of the German forces and we ended the war in Europe.
You're saying that we're one day better than Russia.
Technically speaking, yes. Everything. Otherwise known as time zones make up for the day difference, but yeah, we're better than that.
During the Bulge, command broke down, supplies broke down, morale broke down, communications broke down, everything broke down. It was every man for himself. We were inadequately clothed. We didn't have rubber overshoes. We didn't have overcoats. We didn't have gloves. We didn't have scarves. My boots were so bad, I would strip newspapers and drapery off of the bombed out houses and wrap my feet in it. You were having trouble breathing because the snow was suffocating you. And consequently, we lost a lot of men who froze to death.
Japan was an imperialist country, so it tried to take over more land, and it was focused on China and place around there. So as the Western forces, as like U.S. and Britain saw what Japan was doing, they dissuaded Japan by like not giving them raw materials they needed, like oil and iron ores and steel and stuff like that, to halt Japanese production. And since 80% of Japan's uses for oil were imported, Japan viewed that as an offense or aggressive move on them. So they came up with a southern plan, which was to invade into deeper China and claim some land as for the national resources, so they don't have to depend on other countries. And although they also feared America initiating war with Japan, and so they created the Eastern Plan, which was to first bomb Pearl Harbor, which we saw earlier, and take over the Philippines as well, and stuff like that, just to disable America from joining the war. At the beginning of the Pacific War, America was losing heavily, and they were losing islands as well through the Pacific War. And so there was this one island called Midway. And Japan, it was a very strategic point, so Japan wanted to take it over and beat U.S. forces there so they can hold their place and not lose to the U.S. But then U.S. codebreakers found the message, deciphered it, figured out that Japan was gonna set traps there for them, so they got there first, set traps, and in the end, U.S. casualties suffered the destruction of one destroyer and one aircraft carrier, while Japan lost 4 aircraft carriers and a heavy cruiser. And so after the Battle of Midway, we switched from a defensive war to an offensive warfare, and we used a strategy of island hopping, which is just moving from islands, key strategic points, and leaving some islands out, not going to all of them. And MacArthur and Nimitz led a 2-pronged battle with Japan, and Nimitz took the Central Pacific route, and he did the island hopping tactics. So, yeah. After several battles, and after the point of Midway, Japan's forces started decreasing in power and strength and numbers and arms. So at this point, Japan was doing a defensive war now. And so there's Iwo Jima was a homeland island-ish, which was just part of not the main structure of Japan, but the islands that were around it that was important to Japan. And so we started bombarding Iwo Jima with amphibious style warfare, and it started in February 1945 and it lasted until March 26th. It was heavily guarded. It was bunkers and 11 miles of underground tunnels where Japanese soldiers could travel around. And the different part about Japanese warfare was they hardly fought above ground. They were pretty much underground the whole war, and they just like shot upwards and stuff like that. And after a month, nearing the end of the battle, Japanese suffered almost 100% casualty rate. Either they were all dead, missing, or captured. There was only about like 200 captured. The rest were killed out of the 18,000. And U.S. only suffered 35% casualty rates. Not much death, just people. After that, we moved on. We did the island hopping. We moved on to Okinawa. And it was a key place because it was only a couple hundred miles off the coast of the mainland island of Japan, so they could do easy bombing and firebombings and made way from the Tonga Thumb. And
So we started attacking them on April 1st, 1945, and it lasted for 82 days. And Japanese soldiers consisted of, well, they had the basic army and the Imperial Army first, although they were still missing large numbers, so they drafted a bunch of middle school students, senior middle school students, and just random workers that were around, and Okinawans were people who lived on that island. And the American forces were led by General Simon Bolivar Bunker Jr., and he assaulted the island with one of the largest amphibious attacks, except for D-Day, or in the Pacific at the least. And here is where the kamikaze planes were utilized the most, although it was introduced earlier in other battles in the Pacific. It was used the most during Okinawa. There was 1,500 planes and several missions that carried them out. Americans suffered 38,000 wounded and 12,000 dead, and the Japanese 200,000 deaths of civilians and soldiers combined. Nah, he's always
Sorry, what Russian person? I knew the accent.
I'm my own man, don't push me.
Connor, did you kick the door?
No.
Kind of defeats the purpose of making you mad.
got this.
Maybe that's good enough.
Connor, you're cheating.
Not cheating. Like, well, the war in Europe is over, and I think you should help me out with Japan.
They can give me 90 days. They gotta take over, liberate Europe.
What are we gonna do with Germany?
We can have you guys.
Rachel, do you have any input? Well, I think we should hold free elections throughout all of Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Well, per se something happens to me or my country. Are you gonna uphold my wishes for democratic elections and make sure that they don't become satellite nations? Really? Because
Just build more nukes.
well, maybe we'll meet again.
Maybe.
Maybe at Potsdam. Yeah. No, we will. So don't come drunk.
What are you talking about?
We're done here. Surprisingly able to move. Thank you. I want to be facing my people. All right. Potsdam Conference is basically a reconvening of all the major forces except for Roosevelt that died and Truman had immediately taken his place. And then they never really settled the problems of Eastern Europe. That's probably what led us into the Cold War, was this dispute over whether or not they should be communist states, which Soviet Russia originally wanted, or whether they should be democratic, which is what Churchill and what FDR originally wanted. They basically left it to the Council on Foreign Ministers, which would meet in San Francisco weeks later, and they had to make all the important decisions where America was pretty much just blown over.
Manhattan Project was in August 1939. Jewish refugee in Albert Einstein. When Roosevelt and the German scientists were seeking to construct a weapon of extraordinary destructiveness, Roosevelt launched a secret Anglo-American program, excluding the Soviets, and to produce an atomic bomb in late 1941. And 1942, participating physicists achieved an atomic bomb, or atomic reaction beneath the Chicago football stadium, University of Chicago football stadium. 1933-94, Manhattan Engineer District stockpiled uranium across the U.S. and headquartered in New Mexico. And just before dawn, and on July 16th, 9:45, Michael McCloud rose over the Trinity test site in New Mexico. Atomic bomb. Japan insisted on fighting to the end, and America had already faced over 35%.
Oh my gosh, here comes the Enola Gay!
Oh no!
Oh yay, you're coming to do this. Wee, yay!
Here comes Andy again.
No, it's the other guy. Come on, buddy. You can do it. Get down there.
Go!
Oh, firing my land. Good job! Good
Alright. Basically, had a lot of towns, that's where you're all sitting right now. You're extremely cramped, but you like it because it satisfies many children that y'all are going to have. A child will be born every 7 seconds, and they will be some of your parents, probably not. My parents. There you go, Trey.
This is a role between the Soviet Union and the Western Allies because the Soviets went to control Berlin after it separated. And so that's the reason why. All right, Soviet Union conquered Europe, Asia. While doing that, and so the spread of communism, they built an iron curtain to divide them from all of Western Europe, them and their satellite countries like Latvia and Romania, and so to counter that, the U.S. Britain and other Western European countries formed NATO, and then also they used the Marshall Plan. The U.S. sent money to European countries to rebuild them and give them economic support to subsequent countries. Under the Truman Doctrine, the U.S. sent economic and military aid to countries like Greece and Turkey to make sure that they don't fall under communism. And also, what heightened attention is that the U.S. published the Nazi Soviet relation, which is basically the thing that exposed that the Soviet Union wanted to be part of, was the fourth axis, and then they showed that to the whole world. Next slide.
with the Soviet black Indians from Berlin, from all the rest of the Allies. So it still helped them do a Berlin do an airlift, which they flew over 2,000 flights in 1 year, providing 4,700 tons of resources such as fuel and food. They did this as a way to get the Soviets to start a war without them doing anything, because they knew the first person to start something is a nuclear war. And so the airlift ended in May of 1949. All right, and then
Rick? Here, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. All right. Wisconsin Senator Joseph McCarthy made many accusations of felony espionage treatment with popular guards that had presidents like the Hollywood Sam. Many of them had never actually said they were communists, but a lot of them were accused of being such. Also, Executive Order of 9835 designed to root out communist influence in the U.S. federal government. 3,000 were charged of it, but only 300 were fired or released from their jobs. The House Committee of Un-American Activity had random searches to see who was at espionage, who was on espionage. Under that, watched the political careers of Richard Nixon and John F. Kennedy, because along with McCarthy, they went on random searches to find espionage with accusations of never said.
We're gonna say, you didn't uphold MGR's end of the deal. E5, your move, Stalin. It's not gonna go over well in my country. Communist. Alright.
Happy Mountain Dew, let's go.
Pull over again.
It's cold in here.
Guys, get a 43 man.
Everybody gets one top can, another ration, but then Hunter gets 2 liters. Ration
You put your sheets on my desk up here if you're done with them, otherwise turn them in
Hunter was
tomorrow.
also a War Hero Medal of Honor recipient.
That's just the Cold War. That's just the I'm supposed to play challenge. Trying to stay on the process.
Yeah, it's really doing technology.
Yeah, we got technology.
Okay.
Alright, now the
You're right.
How did you do this?
I have ruined the whole operation. Like ruined it. I took out a couple Germans.
I think you are officially alive.
Eventually, some people get over it.
Medal of Honor recipient.
What's that?
Andy.
Hey, I can't go on rubber reports. I know why. Connor got special players to use the gun in school.
You did? Why is that?
I missed him, George, and let me like, oh my gosh. That's like dropped the balls.
Yeah, we know.
You guys can laugh at it all you want, but don't. Don't put it. I wouldn't do that either. Because if that gets out, people are gonna be.
We're going on the Hunter or Superman.
You guys can do whatever.
Well, wait till you retire.
No, I'm not concerned about me. I'm more concerned about you.
Us, yeah. We'll wait till like for a year. I'll put it on
Are you kidding me? There's Saving Private Ryan going on the background, and you say that Nerf guns
Nobody
aren't
noticed that.
possible?
Did you even notice that?
Ziggy the Riveter.
one who looked over.
Good job, good job, good job. You guys did well.
Oh, my God.
My knees are a little sore. I don't know if I kicked it around or if I.
Jump over me?
Yeah.
I missed that?
This thing was like
I I fell down flat. I looked up.
Dude, I took out two people. Oh no,
Me and Crowley.
What?
I missed it.
Please tell me you got that on video tape.
Over the.
Oh yeah, it's all on video.
Oh, I don't see how to jump over there.
It's not even gonna be clear.
Oh, it's gonna be sick.
Impossible to see.
You guys know